this episode, we will set out to cross the Pacific Ocean,
sail with dolphins at night,
deal with constant swells,
welcome a visitor,
and sail over 40 days without seeing land. This passage is very different from the coastal sailing we have done so far. Instead of short hops down the coast, we will be making one gigantic leap across the Pacific Ocean. We will leave Nueva Vallarta, Mexico, and sail southwest across the ocean for about 3,000 nautical miles until we reach the island of Hiva Oa in the Marquesas, French Polynesia. There is no harbor or bay to seek shelter in during this passage. It will all be open ocean. We are excited to finally leave Nueva Vallarta and follow our cruising friends who already left for French Polynesia. It is April 22nd and the winds are light as we slowly sail across Banderas Bay right into the sunset.
Alena is sleeping downstairs and we're about to leave Banderas Bay, so it's nice, no swells and some wind. But it will change in a few hours when we get around Punta Midas. We'll see. So far our first night is pretty good.
Next day we are encountering some floating debris and calm conditions.
It's the morning of the second day. The wind is about 10 to 15 knots. The sea a little bit confused out there. The night was not that eventful. The only good thing were the dolphins actually.
We had a pod of dolphins following us overnight, and the bioluminescence was amazing. It was so strong that you could see the glowing outlines of the dolphins swimming and hunting. It was a really incredible experience.
And no, we did not manage to record this with our cheap cameras, but Patrick Coyne with Newport Coastal Adventure in California did, so we can show you what it looked like. A big thank you to them for providing us with that footage.
Other than that, there's not much going on. There's a cruise ship out there.
The swell does pick up once we leave Banderas Bay, but the winds stay light.
One thing we did soon after leaving Banderas Bay is to implement a watch schedule. Someone always needs to be on the lookout to watch for other vessels, steer the boat, or check our autopilot, and screen the ocean for floating debris that could damage our boat.
We decided on 6-hour shifts, so the person who is off watch gets at least 5 hours of sleep.
Our sleeping berth is the couch in the center of our cabin, to which we attached a lee cloth that keeps us from falling out of the berth when the boat rocks from side to side, and a foam cushion to make it more comfortable.
So far, conditions have been calm and we've been able to use our autopilot. It's really nice to have an autopilot which steers the course you set. It makes sailing long distances so much easier.
We did get the predicted northwest wind and larger swells, up to 10 feet or 3 meters, yesterday. The wind came with gusts over 25 knots and made for a bumpy ride. Today the wind calmed down, but the swells are still there. We are still working on getting used to the different motions.
We also had our first gear failure. Our wind vane, which we used to steer the boat in stronger winds, behaved very sluggish, and a quick examination revealed that 2 mounting bolts were loose and the locking washers and nuts were gone. We found 1 spare locking nut and bolt and could retighten at least one of the 2 bolts, so we won't lose the vane. And we will do proper repairs once the sea calms down a bit.
We are very glad that we installed a radio that picks up the Automatic Identification System, or AIS, signals. Right now, we are crossing the main shipping channel from Central America to the US, and it's busy. The AIS receives information such as name, speed, heading, and more from commercial vessels. It helps us to stay out of the way of the big guys.
Going up and down, looking for the right. Now inside of your crew, that's where all the fun is being at. Skipping to the tune, all on this ride. In the sky, I'm not in poor. All I got in
Over the last several days, the wind and large swells found us again. Thanks to a system moving down from the California coast, we experienced over 20 knots of sustained winds and steep swells.
The uncomfortable rolling motion makes walking, cooking, and doing pretty much anything other than sitting at the wheel or lying down and sleeping very difficult.
It never look as big on the video.
Looking forward to the doldrums.
I don't know, it's gonna look very good either.
Very happy with an autopilot number so far.
Alena is sleeping in a new berth with the lee cloth, so it keeps you in the bed. If the boat is over, you don't fall out, and that makes it actually possible to sleep at all.
Despite the rocking boats, seabirds attempt to land on our mast, which is wildly swinging about.
The wind decided to take a break today. First it calmed down a bit, and then there was no wind or movement at all, well except for the swells. It was dead calm. As you can see, it's very calm out here. Almost no wind. Let's do a short pan.
Pretty cloudy though.
Kind of cloudy, overcast, which is nice so the sun's not quite so intense. The water is a beautiful blue. Let's see if we can capture that blue.
The water is so calm and clear that we can even see the fish below. Here's what appears to be a juvenile mahi-mahi, also known as a common dolphin fish. The wind stays away, so we run our water maker, fix our wind vane mount, read books, and I run a few more lines today to mount our big spinnaker pole that holds up our chip sail in light winds. So right now we're going about like 30 nautical miles a day, and that means we will need about 100 days to go to Marquesas, so I hope we're gonna be faster at some point. As you can see, we took the sail down a bit because we had to do some repairs. Some of the seams came undone, so we used some sail tape to tape it. And when we're in the Marquesas, we're gonna take the whole sail down and then restitch it. But otherwise, in a few hours, the wind picks up. Hopefully, we'll furl it all the way back out and sail towards the Marquesas.
Well, we've had almost no wind for the last 3 days. Sometimes during the day we get a little bit of wind, so we can go about 1 to 2 knots, but that's about it. There's been pretty much no wind at night, so it's been nice. We've been able to sleep and actually been able to relax and kind of catch up on things around here, clean up our cabin, do some cooking, do some baking, fix a few things, make water. So it's actually been kind of a nice little vacation from sailing, but we are just sitting here, so it'd be nice to get moving again. So maybe someday we'll actually make it to the Marquesas. For now, we relax, watch the seabirds, and wait for the wind. We are not motoring because we need to save our fuel for the Intertropical Convergence Zone, or the ITCZ, also called the doldrums. An area with little wind and frequent squalls and lightning storms. We want to make sure we have enough fuel to get through that area as fast as possible.
But for now, we read more books, watch more movies, and check out the school of fish that is following us on our slow journey across the Pacific Ocean.
Another beautiful morning, and we are finally in the trade winds. So now we have winds from behind pushing us towards the Marquesas. We're about 2 weeks out, and we still have maybe 3 more weeks to go. But at least we make more progress right now than we did in the first 2 weeks.
We are now in flying fish territory. These are fish with very wide pectoral fins that allow them to leap out of the water and glide through the air. Unfortunately, they are not accustomed to having boats in their path, so often they accidentally fly right onto our deck. Today we got a big one, and also a squid. Every morning we find flying fish that glided onto our boat overnight, and we have to return them to the sea before they start to smell too much.
But last night a squall hit us, and a very strange looking fish landed in our cockpit in the middle of it.
As I was checking out the flying fish that fell into our boat, it's actually a little bird. It tries to seek some shelter here. I guess he got wet and tossed around in the storm.
We make a small nest out of an empty milk carton and some paper towels for our new guest. The bird sleeps the entire day and only pokes its head out in the late afternoon. It refuses any of the dried cranberries and seeds we try to offer it.
Our seabird book says it's most likely a species of storm petrel, which is fitting considering it came in during a storm. In the evening it decides to leave, and after a few failed attempts it flies off into the sunset. We assume the bird flies through the night to its new adventures, and so do we. Well, we're not actually flying, but we are making good progress now.
The last several days were all pretty much the same. We are doing our 6-hour shifts, making good use of the 10 to 15 knots of wind blowing day and night, and fighting the swell that comes with it. I don't think you can really get used to the swells rolling Green Panther from side to side all the time. There's usually a train of smaller swells, and then every few minutes a very large swell hits the boat and slaps us around a bit.
This makes even simple tasks such as opening a can and pouring the content into a pot rather challenging. So most of our meals involve canned food or pasta dishes that only need boiling water. The good news is that we're about halfway there, having sailed 1,500 nautical miles and having the same distance before us as well.
We just reached the ITCZ and it's, well, gray, gray, gray. A lot of clouds, a lot of rain, not much wind. So we're running the engine and going 2.5 knots. It's gonna take a while to get through here, but well, we'll make it.
So far, it has only been rain though, no lightning, knock on wood, so we are perfectly happy with it. If we can get through here with just the rain, we will be thrilled. The radar comes in handy to predict when the next squall will hit us. There is no way we can outrun the downpour, but at least we know which of these dark clouds, and they're all dark, will bring strong winds along with the rain.
It's also quite relaxing since the swells are down to about 3 to 5 feet, 1 to 1.5 meters, and we can have the autopilot steer.
But the conditions change, and not for the better.
We had about 10 to 15 knots of wind tonight from the south, which is a pain because we want to go south. And our boat got pretty much, well, trashed inside. Everything flew. So now the wind is down to maybe like 12 knots. Hopefully we can clean up a little bit today, and hopefully the wind will, behave itself and change direction at least, because we are beating into the swells. That's not good.
Light winds and swells from the south continue to slow us down as we slowly motor sail towards the equator.
Finally, the wind shifts in our favor.
So we're now about 2 degrees north and we're almost through the ITCC, the doldrums. We used up most of our diesel. We just have maybe like 2 or 3 gallons left, so we try to sail as much as we can so we have the diesel when we actually reach the Marquesas and want to anchor there. There is some wind, so we sail with about 3 knots, and it's day 28, so we're out here for quite a while. But getting close to the equator, that's a big thing. So we're happy to reach the equator in about 2 days, hopefully, and then we can have a little celebration. And after that, it's maybe about a week or so, if you have good wind, a week or so to the Marquesas. So yeah, we're gonna get there.
Today, we reached the equator and crossed into the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, for sailors, crossing the equator is a special occasion and a cause for celebration and dressing up.
Okay, we're about to cross the equator in about 2 miles, and what did you make, Alena?
I made an equator cake. See, it's a 0.
That looks really delicious. When can we eat it?
As soon as we hit the equator, we have 0.15 miles left to go. You can see.
Okay, so we just crossed the equator. Yoo!
Here we go. Wait. Something.
iPad. There we go. Ready? Okay.
Very messy.
Ready?
We saw the island pretty late because it was very low-lying and pretty small. When we came closer, I noticed that there were several buildings on it. Actually, it was a little strip mall, and one of the stores was a grocery store. They had a wide selection of fresh fruits and vegetables, and a good variety of dairy products, and even chips and other snack food. I was so happy we could finally resupply and have fresh produce again.
This is what Alena explained to me this morning when she described her very exciting dream she had last night. Of course, there's no island here.
However, my dream shows that we are really learning to appreciate the things that one takes for granted back home, especially fresh fruits and veggies. We did stock up on both before we left, but looking at our produce net, there is only 1 apple left, 4 bunches of garlic, and a few limes. We are ready to hit land.
But we still have about 400 nautical miles to go.
We set up the wind vane and it's steering pretty good, which is great because in those conditions you don't really want to be out there. Right now there's a swell approaching, rain coming vertically,
I'm glad I can be in here under the dodger and watch the wind when steering instead of being out there.
And we can always read another book. By the way, our lee cloth started to fall apart, so we abandoned the bunk and are now using a mattress on the cabin floor. It works quite well.
We still have plenty of food on board and Alena creates delicious meals. Hey, what's that?
There's some nachos I made.
Ah, they look delicious.
Hope they're okay.
We are now a scant 30 nautical miles from our destination, the island of Hiva Oa. Getting so close to land, we can't help but fantasize about what the next few days will bring, such as a full night's sleep, an end to the low level of seasickness we feel most every day, being able to do normal tasks again without difficulty such as cooking, cleaning, and just walking.
Having clean laundry, tasting fresh fruit and ice cream again, walking on stable ground, and seeing green plants and trees, and much more.
Land! I see land!
Finally, from the haze of clouds on the horizon emerges a large, light gray, hilly shape. After 41 days at sea, it feels like ages since we've seen anything on the horizon, and it is hard to believe we will finally get to rest soon and walk on land again.
The only downside is at our current speed of 4.5 knots, we would reach Hiva Oa after sunset. That's not good. So now, after finally getting close to land, we need to reduce our speeds so we'll arrive in daylight at the anchorage the next morning. Join us next time when we finally make landfall in the Marquesas. Set out to explore the beautiful island of Hiva Oa. Meet the locals and greet the tikis.
Parti sur la mer, un ennemi poirier, un marin pas ordinaire. Pour les marchands, il s'était engagé, Jack il voulait voyager. Un soir de tempête, son bateau fit naufrage, près des îles Salomon, contraint à l'esclavage par des cannibales qu'il avait capturés. Il fut castré et engraissé. Captain Jack, Captain Jack.